So now you know your target customer, right? We said, okay, where do they live? What street do they live in? What part of the city do they live in? Do they live in the city or do they live in the countryside? Which part of the country do they live in? Maybe your specific niche lives actually in a different part of the country to where you live. So define your working area. You've got to define your working area based on two things really. One of them is where your target customer lives, because if there's none of your target customers in your working area, then you're not going to get any customers. But you've also got to define your working area based on where you want to or are willing to travel to. So for example, for us, our target area is Cambridge. There are a lot of wealthy people in Cambridge who want lovely, high quality electrical installations done. A lot of people in Cambridge who are kind of early adopters for electric vehicles as well. And so there are plenty of my target customers in Cambridge. So Cambridge can be my target market, but then I might think, well, how far am I willing to travel? For example, if somebody contacts me from Peterborough, which is an hour's drive north of Cambridge, will I accept that job or will I say no? Now, at first, when you're a newly growing business, you might be willing to travel a bit further. But as time goes on and you get more and more business in your target area, you might rein that in a little bit. But there's a danger to that, you see, because what can happen is if you stray too much outside of your target area, you can end up developing your business primarily in another area. So for me, for example, if I went to Peterborough to do a job, the customer might be really happy with me, and then they might recommend me to 2 or 3 other people in Peterborough. And guess what? Then I start to get this sort of bubble of clients in Peterborough building up, but actually I don't want to be travelling to Peterborough because it's an hour there and an hour back. That means I've either got to leave an hour earlier or come home an hour later every day, or I've got to leave and come back at my normal time but cut down my working day, which means I'll probably earn less. So then you might say, well, I'm willing to travel to Peterborough, but I need to make sure that if I do, I charge extra than what I normally would because it's outside of my working area. You can end up being a slave to your customers rather than actually your customers being part of the business that creates the path to reaching your goals. So the important thing here is, again, not to get distracted. Remain focused on your goal and define your working area according to your goal, and bearing in mind that you need to reach those figures that you need to reach when doing the maths. Bearing in mind that you need to maintain your unique selling point that you've come up with when you were thinking about your business concept. All of these things factored in will help you to define your working area, and that will then enable you to do the next step, which is really exciting. It's to choose your business name. So that is what we're going to talk about in the next lesson.